Welcome to The Beat, your go-to where leaders, founders, and investors share insights on growth, innovation, and business building. I'm Chitra Nabat, your host. Joining us today is Maneesh Goyal, Mayo Clinic Platform Chief Operating Officer. Maneesh, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Mayo Clinic is a top-ranked hospital in the world with 16 hospitals and over 50 multi-specialty clinics, revenue of about $15 billion. Mayo Clinic Platform is the change agent of Mayo Clinic. Take us into the scale and complexity of Mayo Clinic and how the platform was born.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me and really looking forward to this conversation. So a little thing about Mayo. Mayo is 160 years old. We've been in Rochester, Minnesota for 160 years, grew into Southern Florida or Northern Florida and grew into Arizona. And today serve over 1.2, 1.3 million patients a year, and with a fair number of patients from 130 different countries across the world. So we're a destination medical center, meaning we see a lot of patients that are complex or serious because they run out of options in their local systems. So we have a lot of referrals that come into the system. Mayo is also a 3-shield operation, so we have a research shield. We do over $1 billion of research with NIH and government and commercial sponsored research. We have a education shield, which shows that we've got 2 medical schools and a couple of other schools like nursing and public health. And that's not where Mayo stops. We have 2 or 3 other commercial ventures. So we have an entire ventures organization that does hundreds of relationships with organizations across government and academia. We have a laboratory. We have a lab services organization. It's called a reference lab. So we provide lab services to 400 hospitals across the world as well. We have an international business unit that starts to think about how we establish clinical relationships with other hospitals, again, across the world. Mayo Clinic Platform was born 3 years ago as part of, actually now 4 years ago, I take that back, time flies, under Dr. Farrugia, who was our current CEO's leadership. And he asked the notion that, every other industry is going through a platform-based transformation, which means instead of building big fixed costs, can we reduce our fixed cost structure, create more seamless partnerships with like-minded organizations, with suppliers, and create a different kind of services model where all the resources come to the table at the right time, and we're not building and hoarding those resources, which has been the hallmark of hospitals. As an aside, the notion of a hospital was born 150 years ago when we said, how do we control infections in the field? So we said, let's bring them in, put them in a sterile environment, give them care, and this is the right way to deliver better care. But now you come today when the number one cause of issues in the hospital are hospital-borne illnesses, and we can deliver better care, or at least really good care in the home. So we have an opportunity to really recraft what care means and rethink what a hospital and the role of a hospital is. So Mayo Clinic Platform was born to really initiate this at Mayo, but then to show the world through partnerships and affiliations how to do it at their own local jurisdictions. Our primary KPI, just so you know, is we want to enable greater than 50% of the healthcare providers, so that's other academic institutions or community health workers, to benefit from what Mayo Clinic does, which is deliver integrated medicine.
Bring that to life for us in terms of your sweet spot and where you play, because so many organizations out there, whether it's the large cloud providers, other health systems, the startups at this conference, so many entities out there say that they're a platform. So where do you begin and end? What's your sweet spot? How do you engage?
Yeah, let's define platform for a second. It's not technology. Technology is a means. It's not, we're not trying to sell something. We're trying to convene a set of suppliers and a set of consumers. So a set of suppliers means all the innovative companies that are here and elsewhere, all the researchers that are building really innovative research, and all the people that need these tools. Those could be health institutions or healthcare providers. And so what we did is said, let's look at how innovation goes from an idea to really changing a patient's life. Well, you need data. You need to be able to communicate to healthcare providers that this solution that you created on top of the data is meaningful. And then you need to actually make it integrated very easily. You have to make it so the IT team doesn't say no. So within platform, what we did is said, let's make sure we pull together a complex but easy to use data set. So we started with Mayo Clinic's data. We took 10 million patients, de-identified it, got the consent from patients, and said, let's make it available for solution developers. So if they want to develop AI-based solutions or validate their solutions, they can do this. Instead of spending 18 months negotiating with Mayo, we can do it in weeks. So that's reality today. Second, we said, let's establish a blueprint so when somebody does create something, we actually have a clear way of telling the clinician what the bias is, what the efficacy is, but what does it actually mean? Because remember, clinicians aren't data scientists. They're just trying to figure out how to deliver better care. And so these solutions have to be very crisp and clear on the value to the patient. So we created this coalition called the Coalition of Health AI. So Dr. John Halamka, my partner on this, created that with Duke. And so today, that organization has a blueprint of how you communicate transparently on AI-based solutions. The last piece of this is actually integrating into the EHR seamlessly so these solutions don't have to create a one-off integration so the physician can make the call and they don't have to get stuck at the IT help desk. And so if we could solve those three chunks, you can compress the time from idea to patient impact from 2-3 years to months. And that's what we've done. We've done it for early disease detection. We've done it for precision medicine, and we're just getting started.
Walk us through an example with one of your strategic partner customers and talk about the engagement operating model and the flow through to specific impact, quantifiable impact.
So there's a particular cardiovascular condition called low ejection fraction. And that means your heart is producing less compression and so producing less volume going out. It is typically caught in a catastrophic condition. We call it a heart attack. There's a technical term for it. Our clinicians, so our innovators in this case, took hundreds of thousands of 12-lead ECGs signals that were taken for non-cardiac patients. That's an important point. So these are patients that came in for an unrelated surgery. We captured that 12-lead ECG, but then we trained an algorithm to detect this condition and then did a clinical study against it. So we then invited those patients that tested positive for this condition to come in and do a clinical workup. Long story short, this algorithm has a 0.92% AUC, which means it's really high prediction. And we took these patients that were, I think we took 4,000 patients, and of those, 40 patients were put on a therapeutic. Now, that algorithm sits now in our EHR, always running, so whether a patient came in for a cardiology workup or not, if they were 12-lead ECG was taken, it's automatically run and flags to the physician that we might have a risk factor here. So those 40 patients that we ran this against, we saved their lives because at the end of the day, it was not going to be until the future that they actually caught this condition. So we took that. So if we stopped there, it would be great for Mayo Clinic to use it for our own patients. We actually partnered with a third-party commercial entity, and they've taken it through the FDA process, and now we're actually taking it and deploying it to our partner network health systems. So it isn't just Mayo, but the 38 systems in the US and 7 global that now have an access to these solutions. They know that it's clinically valid because Mayo ran it against our clinical data set. And obviously it's gone through an FDA process, but we're not building a commercial product. We're letting the commercial side of the market build. Our job is to make sure anything we put on the platform is high quality.
You use the word algorithm.
Yeah.
You also talked about data insights.
Yeah.
So all of that involves artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
Specific areas where you're using AI at scale and innovating next.
Yeah, no, it's So our approach is let the market innovate. The hundreds of companies that are here, the thousands of companies that are here, let them innovate. Our biggest excitement is early disease detection because it comes at a fraction of the cost to run an algorithm sitting in the background on an EHR and patients coming in. It is a tiny fraction of the cost. You can do it here, you can do it in sub-Saharan Africa, right? The computation costs are so low. So early disease detection is certainly one area. Another is precision medicine. So we actually took Mayo's 10 million patients and said, of all the breast cancer patients, can we look at which drugs performed well and which ones didn't? So you could actually make a recommendation and say, for South Asian women, this is the way, this combination of drugs works better than for Korean women, this combination of drugs better. So instead of a clinician using the same drug combination for a particular disease, no matter the patient's phenotype, you can actually now change the therapeutic so with better results. Two very clear examples, but at the same time, there's hundreds of examples, and we've just started to scratch the surface.
Maneesh, thank you so much for joining us.
Oh, it was a pleasure. Thank you for having me.